So Sing for Sane kind of has emerged almost by itself. It wasn't something that I planned exactly. It's just something that little by little over time it's kind of begun to just bloom, just blossom on its own as a result of a few different things happening. The first thing was that I decided last year to make a recording, an acoustic recording, of some of the songs that I'd been performing over the last year or so, and to just capture those, because it had been a while since my first record was released, and I wanted to finally put something new out there and introduce these songs in recorded form that I'd been performing to people who'd come to performances. And so I did. I selected 6 songs, and one of them was a song called Live Again, which while I'd written it a year before, sort of basing it very much on the situation of somebody who I could see was having difficulty and struggling, having a really challenging time mentally and emotionally, and I guess my writing this song was my way of processing what I felt she was going through, or what I could see she was going through, and so I wrote it really thinking it was no more than that, just a song about the situation of this person. But what sort of bizarrely happened when I recorded it, and recording it in that stripped back way acoustically, just with a pianist, there's nowhere to hide, and so there was just a lot that came through from listening to my voice in that way. Also, the lyrics are so much more stark, the message behind the song was so much clearer, and I realised maybe it needed the year to pass and for me to go into the studio for me to realise this, but I realised that there was actually more of myself in this song than I thought there was when I'd written it, and so that sort of was its own little story taking place in the back of my head, I suppose, and I continued with the process of trying to finish and put out this record, but all the while, as I was doing the planning, there were more little things that I was beginning to realise were coming about and revealing themselves to me via this recording of Live Again. And when I, in October last year...
2015?
2015, yeah, indeed. So when I, in October 2015, decided to try to launch this record, to do a launch party, and it was a lovely event and lots of people came, and again it was me with my pianist and me and a guitarist, so that we performed it in a similar style to how it was recorded, just duo performances for those songs that needed piano and those songs that were recorded with guitar. But just a few weeks before the performance, I just thought Live Again would sound really nice if it had extra voices behind it, just some backing vocals, some nice harmonies, and so I invited some of the singers, amateur singers who I work with, and asked them if they wanted to come along to this launch party and to just sing some backing vocals, which they did. And so we did the performance, and for me it was just really uplifting, it was really lovely, and it highlighted to me somehow the message of this song being about wanting to reach out and connect to other people. When you've got other people singing it with you and their voices joining together with my own, it sort of lifted the message and just made it really, I mean, it's a song about feeling alone and isolated, but at the same time, it's not, there's nothing sort of down about it really, I don't think. But certainly having these other voices just lifted it so much more.
I was going to say, what was it like bringing so many people together in the studio, the atmosphere and the vibe?
Well, yeah, so later on, that's of course in August what we decided to do, or what I decided to do. But after doing the launch, I really thought that was a special moment. And the next thing, I guess, that happened after that was that I did the performance publicly at Cafe Nero in Heathrow. And Cafe Nero was really supportive of this idea of just turning up and using a piano that they've got there in the store and having other people come along. And of course I didn't know if anybody was going to come along to this, but I put the word out, and people who said they were going to come in advance did actually come. So there was a really nice group of us in store just performing Live Again and doing it to talk about mental health awareness, to try in some small way to lift the stigma a little bit, and also to raise money for Sane. So that in itself seemed to create this this concept of Sing for Sane. You know, I don't know where I got this name from, but that sort of concretised it somehow after we'd done that. And of course, me being me, after that was done, little ideas were going on at the back of my mind again as to, well, is there a way that perhaps I could get this out even further by recording it? Wouldn't it be nice to have a recording of this song? But I didn't really want to explore it because I just thought that's just such a lot of work. And that seems like a crazy idea, and you know, how do you even make it happen, and where do you do something like that? And all of those questions are coming to mind, so I really pushed it away for quite a while, until eventually it just felt like, look, just, you know, when something just keeps nudging you, and eventually I just felt, look, just put the word out a little bit. So I got in touch with a friend of mine who is a producer, Andrew Hunt, and dropped him an email one morning, sort of really tentatively saying, well, what do you think about this? I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but it's just a thought, and I don't know that I'll do it at all, but, you know, I'm just putting the idea out there. Just let me know what you think, and if it could happen, and where it could happen, and how we could do it. But he got back really quickly and just said, you know, I think it's a great idea, and was full of enthusiasm for it, which, when somebody else does that, it makes you think, well, okay, maybe it's not such a bad idea. But I still remained incredibly tentative for a while, because I just thought it's, you know, it is a big, it is going to be a big project to pull it off. But I guess eventually, knowing that I had somebody who would steer it and produce it, that takes away a lot of that workload, because they're sharing that with you, and you're just sort of, you've got somebody there to bounce ideas off as well. So yeah, I just felt I was being slowly nudged along. So we were in Rack Studios in August, and they were really enthusiastic and supportive of the idea as well. And once the word began to get out that I was looking for people to come and join me, again, I was thinking, suppose nobody comes. But, you know, even the day before, I was getting emails from people saying, I've just heard about this, can I come? I'd love to come and join this. You know, they like the concept because of whatever reason. They like the idea of supporting mental health, or, you know, people all have their own story, either their own story or the story of someone they know, which makes them connect to that idea and see it as an important issue and message that needs to get out. So yeah, it was what happened, and even now I feel sort of that it's unbelievable that it did.
Splendid. So why then, Melissa, is mental health awareness so important to you?
Mental health awareness just is important. And I think what I've realised is that we talk so much about our physical bodies, and we're getting better here in the West at delving into our minds and getting in touch a bit more with our inner person and not just the outer physical person. It is improving because, you know, mindfulness is all the buzzword at the moment, and people are practicing yoga, and not just practicing it as an exercise, but seeing the benefits of it in order to create stillness and to create awareness of of who we are, and we are getting a little bit better at that. People are meditating, and it's not such a sort of, sort of hey man sort of thing. Although I'm sure for some there is still that, that wariness towards it all. But it is becoming a bit more part of our everyday. And that's a great thing, but I just feel like there's still a ways to go. I'm still, and I realise through this, here's me saying, we've got to get rid of the stigma, we've got to talk about mental health, and we've got to get it out there and have no shame. But at the same time, you don't want to admit to anybody what you're really feeling. You're quite happy to say I've broken my arm, or my back's not very good, or I've been going to the gym and working out, and I've done a run. I did a run this morning. But to say, sometimes I meditate daily. It's my practice. But I feel like there are only certain people I can say that to, and then I think, well, why? Why? So it's just trying to make it so much more part of the norm. In the same way that we get up in the morning and brush our teeth, we might talk about getting up in the morning and just having some stillness, some alone time outside, because for whatever reason we need to try to find the balance, and not feeling in any way ashamed or like it's a bit sort of wishy-washy or anything like that, or that we're weak or anything, It's putting what we feel about our minds on a par with what we feel in terms of our physical bodies, everything that we might talk about in relation to our physical health, we're okay with talking about that in relation to our mental health. But I think there is this problem with the word mental as well. We associate that with being, crazy, and the truth is, we're all sort of a step away from being crazy, whatever that means. Anybody can just fall off the edge very, very slightly or a lot, depending on what situation comes by. And for me, the practice of trying to maintain mental strength is about being able to cope with those unexpected situations just that little bit better, so that we can put things more easily into perspective. It's not the answer to it. It doesn't sort of solve everything, but it does help a hell of a lot. So I just think, for me, that's what it is. It's about raising the word and making it more present in our everyday mental, mind, health, so that the shame associated with those words can lessen that little bit more. I think that's really important.
Okay. Excellent. So what next for Melissa James, pray tell?
Yeah, what next? I mean, it does feel like Sing for Sane has been a large part of me and what I've been doing for the last year or more, or less than that, actually, really. But yeah, I want to start refocusing on Melissa James, the artist, a little bit more. The Sing for Sane project is and has been incredibly important to me, and I don't know where that will go or whether this will be it. I never make plans. Things just happen, so I really have no idea, but I will be proud for it to have done whatever it's done up to this point, definitely, because just those performances, the one in the studio and the one at Cafe Nero earlier in the year, feel like really great achievements in themselves, and even if they only help just one person, then I will feel like they've done a good job in some way. But yeah, I need to start refocusing a little bit and going back to what I was starting to try to do last year after I did those recordings, because in essence what happened was I did the launch and I sang Live Again with this group of people who came and kindly sang it with me, and then I went off that way and started the whole Sing for Sane thing, and the record that I'd recorded and finished, which is called Stripped Back, and which features the stripped back version of Live Again, got left because I realised, for me, one, it felt like this song, Live Again, was too important, both for me and in terms of what I felt I could do with it. So I started on my own personal journey of stripping back and understanding more of myself, which meant that I had to put the record and the release of that on hold, because it was just taking up so much of my energy, and it was difficult for me to really focus on putting effort into releasing a record when I was going through all of that, because releasing a record is a lot of work. I need to reconnect with that a little bit, and people have been so patient with me. Honestly, it's lovely that people who have been following what I've been doing, and those who supported the campaign that I ran and pledged to gather funds to put the record out, they've been so supportive and patient and waiting, and they're still waiting for the physical release of this record. And so I need to deliver that, really, and that's what I want to get working on. And we're nearly at the end of this year, it feels, because close to November now. So next year I want to focus on getting that out.
Roll on 2017.
Absolutely. As long as I'm still well and here, then that's the plan.